So, good evening, folks. Welcome to the March 10th, 2026 meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission. Members of the commission are appointed by the Select Board to implement the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Milton Town Bylaw governing the wetlands. We've got two issues under the open meeting law. One is that we invite everyone to speak, ask questions, make comments. But we do ask that you identify yourself because we are keeping a record. This Zoom meeting is being recorded. Um, and the second area of formality is we introduce ourselves. My name is John Kiernan. Let me read right across the top here, Steve. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Steve Ibis, conservation agent.
Philip,
Philip Driscoll, Conservation Clerk.
Arthur,
Arthur Doyle, Conservation Commission member.
Charlie,
Charlie Bosworth, Commission member.
Ingrid.
Ingrid Beatty, commission member.
All right, thanks. And Steve, if you could keep your eye out to see if anybody's in the waiting room, because we've got a couple of other commissioners.
Yes, Tom, Wendy and Tom are both there, and I'm just admitting them right now.
Perfect. I'll stall a bit.
Yep. So you might want to just let them know to identify themselves.
I will indeed. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Tom.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. We actually just started the introduction, so Wendy, you're on. Just identify yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. My name's Wendy Garpo. I'm one of the commissioners, and I'm very happy to be here.
Wow, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
It's a good night. Tom, we're happy to have you too.
Tom Palmer, member of the commission.
All right, so we're underway. We've made the introduction. It's an open meeting law, so we'll go right to number one. This is notice of intent, Randolph Avenue, parcels 1411, 1412. This is continued from February 10, 2026. And for the public's benefit, we did start the hearing in February. We asked for some additional data relating to drainage and other related things. And happily, we received the response from the applicant. And I think there are a couple more questions, but first of all, we thank you for getting that additional data to us in a timely fashion. Um, my question is, when I was looking at your plans and referencing the narrative, there's a reference to the raised pathway, and it goes between wetlands A and wetlands B, so it's clearly within the 25-foot non-disturb zone, and it actually abuts the certified vernal pool. We have a 100-foot non-disturbance zone. My assumption is that path exists and is not something that you're constructing. But when it said raised pathway, I did not know if you had intention to do anything to that pathway.
Yeah, I can answer that question. And for the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental. Sorry I missed the first meeting, but I watched the meeting and spoke with Nate and other team members, and hopefully our response was attentive to the questions that were raised during that meeting. But to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, the that 2.5 foot wide path is pre-existing. I think it's been there for quite some time now. It if you kind of see the orientation of it, it does not benefit the property owner itself, but it leads into a abutting property, and presuming that it's used as a cut-through path out to kind of where the animal shelter is now. Um, the when I say raised path, it's elevated in the sense that it's just naturally occurring between the two wetlands. So there's a little bit of a topographic divide there, and there's no intention to keep the path or do anything with the path. It is pre-existing and presumably an unauthorized cut-through path through the property.
I understood, and that was my presumption. But when the narrative said raised pathway, I couldn't tell if you were raising it or just existing conditions. But I appreciate your response, and that's what I expected you to say. And also, for your benefit, the commission has a memory of being out there on several occasions because we were out there in that vicinity for the animal shelter, but we were out there a lot for
Yeah.
the development of that Kitty Lane. I think it's called Kitty Lane, right? Coming in from the other side off of Pleasant Street.
Yep.
So, questions. Tom, I know you may have some questions about the wetlands delineation.
Actually, my question is about the access from Randolph Ave. Is that right of way owned by anybody?
The 33-foot wide right of way?
Yeah.
We did actually quite a bit of research on that, and it's basically shared by all of the abutters. And the owner of, the applicant, the owner of the property that we're working on, abuts it in a couple different locations.
Is it paved today?
There's a sort of a driveway up to a certain point, and then it turns into a paved driveway up to a point, and then it's gravel towards the back.
The site plan does show the edge of pavement and then a transition to edge of gravel way. So it basically is pavement right up to the proposed driveway, and then it transitions to the existing gravel way.
I'm looking at it now. I don't see where it says driveway anywhere. I do see edge of pavement. I gotcha. Now I see the driveway.
Yeah.
All right. So you're saying it's as it is now, it's paved up to the proposed driveway?
Correct. Yeah.
And at the last hearing, I think it was Charlie asked whether you planned any kind of stormwater mitigation along the driveway there or any work at all. I guess you said that you were going to have to dig it up for, did you say septic connection?
Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's already utilities in that right away. So it's just basically a stub connection. A little bit beyond the driveway is where the connection is coming in. The proposed driveway spur into the lot.
Did you say that it already had water or you have to put that in?
We have to put water in.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yep.
But I don't see any work for that on the plan.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't show that because it was, beyond the 100-foot buffer to that wetland, and it'll be incorporated into other plans that maybe go to the building department.
Well, you do show a sewer and a water connection proposed
Right.
off the
Correct.
33-foot wide right away to the house. Are they intended to be the same on the construction documents?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be it's a connection into the right of way.
Okay, understood.
We just didn't provide the full design for that aspect to the commission.
Mhm.
Yeah, and as Ryan did state, I think all that work is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. So it wouldn't be typical to show a ton of detail there, but just where the connections are coming in.
I guess I'm concerned that I don't know for a fact that you'll make it any more impervious in that area, but as it seems right now, it seems like it's sort of engineered to dump a lot of water on Route 28, a long sloping driveway.
Yeah, so what we're able to accommodate on the lot, and Ryan can dig in a little bit deeper, we did regrade that entrance to the proposed driveway into the lot off of the 30-foot wide right away. So it doesn't slope directly into the right of way. Any runoff is directed down the driveway, but at the right of the entrance, we are proposing a grass swale depression to collect some of that initial runoff. So there won't be any changes, under post-development conditions.
All right. I think I understand you. It does sound like, though, that you will be digging up out to Route 28 for the water connection, right?
So there's we've sort of been back and forth with the inspection department about how to connect the water, and we believe we can tie into one of the applicant's other properties that's adjacent to that right of way. That seemed agreeable to them. So that's going to be our approach.
Which one would that be?
It's 710 Randolph Ave, I believe. Yeah, 710 Randolph Ave.
Guess I don't see it. I see 700 and 704, 706.
Yeah, it's right next to 700 Randolph Ave and 704, 706.
I'm just, I guess, a little nervous about if there's going to be improvements along this road, that there might be an existing problem there that's not being addressed. But that would be a question for somebody who lives there and has observed what happens, which I haven't. I wonder what the other members think about this.
Would you like me to share my screen to show you where that lot is?
Okay.
That would be helpful.
Yep. Thanks.
Steve, do you have to let him in?
Yeah, I just sent a request.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
you should be able to do it now, Brian.
Thank you. All right. All right, everyone can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And Ryan, so correct me if I'm wrong, this is 710 down here.
Yep.
You might have to cross another lot to get to it, right?
Correct. Yeah, the applicant owns 710 and 704, 706, which is just to the right. And actually 704, 706 is their water connection comes off of the service for 710.
Maybe in this location?
Yeah, right there.
So where does that get to the street?
Where does that water service come off of the street?
Yeah.
It's just to it comes in to the left. If you were looking at 710, it's just to the left of it. So that water service runs up that property line.
I see.
Yep.
So it sounds like in the driveway you're planning to use for this new lot, it comes into it about the same place you're proposing a new driveway? Or maybe a little short of it. I don't know.
Yeah, so Ryan, if you can see my cursor, it comes in
Yep.
this way and then services this house right here.
Yeah, that's correct.
So it would be presumably extended directly north.
Yep.
Okay.
I get it now. I think we're going to have a site visit, so maybe one thing we can look at closely is if we think that right-of-way driveway is delivering a lot of water to Route 28. If it was crowned and had like absorbent soil on either side, maybe it wouldn't be, but if it has a curve, it could be shooting it right down there. I really don't know what it's doing.
Well, I think, Tom, that elevation change down at Randolph Ave is down around 114, 115. And the driveway entrance is at 136 at the proposed the proposed home. So you have a significant elevation change. You are correct. It does pitch down to Randolph Ave, as does that entire parcel of property on that hill.
Yeah, and cognizant of that and the questions and feedback we got at the last meeting, what we're trying to control is any new runoff coming down from the site development down that road to avoid that situation and just trying to mitigate and control it on site.
Yeah, I guess if you look particularly at the house site, you could say, well, we're not working on the right of way. And it's true, you're not doing much work on the right of way. So I agree with you. You're like minimizing the runoff from the building site. On the other hand, I think there might be an issue existing. Just wondering about that.
Yeah, I won't say it's maybe the greatest current condition, but I mean, maybe that's a conversation to be had with is inspectional services that would be under their purview.
It's the private owners who own it, though, right? There's several private owners who own it.
Yeah, I would presume that what Ryan they own to the center line, each a butter.
Yeah, that's sort of how it goes.
All right. That was my question. I don't really have another question about the wetlands and back, except as far as this path you're talking about, is there any fill that makes this path happen? Did somebody make a path by heaving up dirt? Or does it just naturally separate two parts of the wetlands?
Hard to tell. I mean, I think we'd have to go back quite a while to figure out, obviously with the amount of quarry out here that we talked about at the first meeting and rock, again, some of it's natural, but a lot of it has been placed in some time in the past. There could have been old roads through this area. I can tell you, what's ever out there right now has been there for a long, long period of time. And I think, the homeowner, to my knowledge, doesn't have any need or use of that path. So, we'd be willing to take any steps to, abandon it in place. I mean, you can see this development portion of the development footprint nibbles into it, so it would be effectively cut off as a cut through path. But yeah, I mean, if the commission would like some measures to help close that off, we can certainly do it at the two trailheads.
I don't really have any opinion on that. I just sort of an academic question how it got there.
Hey, Brian, can I take you back for a minute? Can you go back that shows the driveway entrance?
Yep.
Because one of the things you said, well, let me back up. In February, I was concerned that the Randolph Avenue drain has a sufficient capacity to accept additional water that's coming from this site. And the reason for my concern was because we approved a change order for the project across the street at 711 Randolph Avenue, where
Yep.
they tied into that. And so they were increasing the direction or the volume of water coming off of that site and going into the town drain. I just wanted to make sure that the capacity was sufficient to accept additional water from your site. And then in response to that, I think you gave information here that you were essentially capturing the water on the site, and you gave some calcs that there's no net increase in the in the flow, which is good. But in that discussion you just had with Tom, he was concerned with what's going to be shooting down to Randolph Avenue, not in a drain pipe, but on the surface. And I think you said there is a proposed grass swale depression. I'm not. Were you talking about another one that's not here, or are you talking about the one that's right next to the driveway where you,
Yeah, this one right here.
that one right there? Okay. And as I understood that when I saw it and read your narrative, part of that, I mean, the design of that grass swale was to make sure that there's no increased water coming off the site. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's intended to capture any runoff right at that entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then go back to, and I understand the fact that we're now outside the 100-foot line, but I also don't want to, start a cascade of water that doesn't stop until it gets to Randolph Avenue. I'm just trying to make sure there's going to be no sheet flow going on to Randolph Avenue, particularly in the wintertime. That could cause icing conditions. So do you think that there's another some catchment or some kind of water control device closer to Randolph Avenue? And I know that would be within the purview of the building department and inspectional services. But yeah, I'm going back to Tom's concern. Is this right of way going to increase the water flow going down to Randolph Avenue?
I'll let Ryan answer that question, but just one thing to point out, I'm sure with that development over at 711 Randolph Ave, they would have taken into consideration this runoff pattern as a pre-existing condition. So whatever sizing of any catch basins that occurred at that entrance would have to take into this existing condition runoff. But I don't know if Ryan has any other thoughts or ideas, or can elaborate on what we're proposing?
Yeah, I don't know that there's much more that we could do to control the runoff from our site. I mean, we've got dry wells to capture all of the roof area and a shallow grass depression that would capture the majority of this new driveway, this paved driveway that we're proposing. Um,
Right,
you
that
know,
was my question in February, and I think you
yeah,
answered it, and I thank you for that. It's just,
yep,
it's now, because of the discussion with Tom about what's happening at the entranceway, and is
yeah.
there anything further that you could do to ensure that there's no water going onto Randolph Avenue?
Well, there's also, Mr. Chairman, if I may, a gravel apron to that driveway. So
Well,
that's going to be,
there is now, but is that the permanent plan?
No, that's just an existing apron
Yeah, that's what I
there
thought.
now.
so then
Yep,
it's going to be paved and impervious.
Yes,
yep.
that's why I'm raising the concern, Arthur.
Good. Any reason why the apron couldn't be gravel for the existing driveway and only the top portion be impervious or paved?
I think that would just be an awkward transition to go from pavement to section of gravel back to pavement.
For plowing purposes in the winter in
Yeah,
particular, I would
yeah.
imagine. Okay.
Maintenance.
Yeah. Just a good question.
Yep.
Thank you.
What about a catch basin right there at the edge, or some kind of a relatively narrow French drain? When I say relatively narrow, I'm talking, 12 inches or 18 inches. Charlie, I can ask you that question. Is there any way we could, just ensure that we're not adding more water on the surface? I'm not talking about water in a drain pipe, but just surface runoff at that location. There would not be a problem construction-wise, and it's not, inhibits the, ability to send a plow up there.
Yeah. Well, looking at the elevation changes, we have a 22-foot elevation change between Randolph Avenue and the driveway entrance. And the natural flow and the sloping of the lot is essentially already pitching out towards the right of way. And what they're doing around the house is they're actually flattening the area, which will increase the water flow. Looking at this from a grading standpoint, the only area that I see that could possibly be adding to the easement, the water on the easement, is at the proposed driveway entrance, about 20 feet in. There's an elevation called out at 138. That area there may flow back out to the right of way, but the rest of the driveway is flowing essentially to the west on the lot. So if you were really looking for a belt and suspenders approach, you could essentially put something like a simple gutter inlet right around that elevation, the proposed elevation at 138, right on the edge of the driveway, and pitch the driveway towards that gutter inlet and just spill the gutter inlet into that proposed grass swale depression.
Mhm.
Yeah, Ryan, do you think that's feasible?
I mean, we can try to come up with something so that the grade right where we're tying into that driveway is 136.8. So in order to get anything to pitch essentially back onto the property, um, we'd have to be lower than that. So we'd create quite the little hole right off of the.
Brian, I hate to interrupt you, but I wouldn't complicate this
Okay.
like that. What I would do is just super elevate the right hand side of the driveway
Mhm.
towards the proposed grass depression. And you could put a gutter inlet right around that elevation 138. And a gutter inlet is a simple 2x2 concrete box with an outlet out the back
Yeah.
with a casting on it. And they're inexpensive. They go in very quickly, and you could just spill it into that proposed grass swale.
Okay.
Because you're not going to change the elevations within the easement. That water has always been flowing to Randolph Ave. It's been flowing to Randolph Ave for 100 years. So you're not going to change that elevation, but you could the belt and suspenders approach would be a simple gutter inlet right around that proposed grass swale, and I think that would catch any runoff that you're really concerned about.
I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, I think we can explore that.
If I could just add to this conversation, I feel like depressions in a lawn are almost a nuisance when it comes to lawn maintenance. And I see homeowners over time fill them in so that they have a level lawn. I would personally feel much more comfortable if instead of there being just a informal depression in the grass, if it was more a defined rain garden type of area that was distinctly noted for future homeowners as a stormwater retention system.
Yeah, we can certainly talk to the owner about incorporating a design that's distinct from the lawn. So it's not, the maintenance of it is separate than just typical lawn maintenance. But duly noted, I think we'll need to review that with the owner in a little bit more detail, what that truly involves. But the point is well taken.
I would just add that I'm liking this blow up. It really makes it possible for us to see this well. And it does occur to me there is new paving in the right of way that's not there now. So there's a certain amount of addition of new impervious to the right of way. And I would like that all tilted back toward this depression or rain garden we're talking about. I don't know if that's possible to do. Charlie was saying, no, we're stuck with the existing elevations. If that's the case, then it's hard to argue with the fact that the project will add a small amount, but a certain amount of impervious to the right of way.
Well, we've been talking about some pretty cost-effective alternative potentials here.
Oops, sorry.
So it's at least, in my view, doable. So I encourage you to, think about that, discuss that further with the owner. And this might be a very simple solution.
Yeah, no, certainly appreciate the feedback, and we'll review it in more detail and talk it through with the owner, see what else can be incorporated there. Really appreciate it.
And a beautiful solution too. Don't forget that, John.
You are a rain garden enthusiast.
I love them.
I know you do. I know you do.
I want to see it on the plan. Makes me so happy.
Are there other commissioners with comments or questions? Any? I don't see any, and I don't hear any. Are there abutters or members of the public that have a question or would like to make a comment? Again, I don't hear any. And apropos of Tom's suggestion that we do a site visit, which I support, by the way. I also would like to have a site visit. It's a pretty sensitive area. We've got a certified vernal pool in the area, so and I appreciate the applicant's sensitivity to that. I think they've addressed that on the plans. But is it possible for the commission to meet on a Saturday morning at 8:30 in the next 2 weeks. And I'm looking at Saturdays and I see the 14th, which is this Saturday. But by the way, for the public, we need 48 hours of notice before we have a public meeting. And this, for the applicant's benefit, this is a public meeting and we can vote at it. So this is not interposed for delay in any sense. Um, we've got the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. So just, is there, let me just put it out to the commission. Can anybody do it this Saturday on the 14th?
Could I be sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Right.
before
Yeah.
you poll the commission? I'm just, I know today put a pretty good dent in the snow melt. I don't know the current conditions out there right now. I certainly don't want to duplicate a site visit. I mean, how are conditions looking out in town with the snow?
Well, a lot better as of today.
Yeah.
But you make a good point. We had a site visit for we've got a pedestrian bridge under review, and we were supposed to meet Friday the 6th, and we canceled it. So our sort of rain date, if that's the right word, is 28th. Actually, the 27th. We're meeting on a Friday for that site. But for that exact reason, we didn't want any snow. And do you think it would make more sense to try to target the 21st?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to push it back a little bit.
All right, that's
Just so we're not running into that same issue.
Sure. No, that makes good sense to me. So let me start again, commission members, and I don't see everybody here. So Wendy, I see you on the screen. Can you make the 21st?
Unfortunately, John, I'm out of town for the last 2 weekends in March,
Okay.
but I trust my colleagues.
All right. And I don't see Ingrid, are you around on the 21st?
I'm not. I can't be there on the 21st either. I can do the 28th.
Okay. And I don't see people, but how about Charlie? Are you around on either the 21st or the 28th?
I am around on the 21st and the 28th. Yep.
Okay. And how about Arthur?
Same as Charlie.
And Tom?
I could do either as well, 21st, 28th.
Applicant, folks?
Yeah, we can make ourselves available either date. Sound like there was 2 absences for the 21st and 1 for the 28th.
Yes, but we can do either one because I'm available and we've got Charlie, Tom, and Arthur. So we'll have a quorum on the 21st. Ingrid, to accommodate you, I think the same group could do the 28th, and we'd have the addition of Ingrid's. So I would suggest to try to get as many commissioners there as possible. So can we target the 28th?
Yeah, that works for us.
Okay. Commission members, so we're okay? Is there consensus there on the 28th?
Yes.
Works for me.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll continue this with the assent of the applicant to the 28th at 8:30 on site. Is there enough room if we go up the access road, can we park there, or should we go up the other access road?
No, there's plenty of parking. Once you go up the right of way, you'll just go a little bit further down, and there's more parking areas right next to the paddock.
Okay. All right. So that's on for the 28th, and that's a public meeting. So, Philip, if you can just make sure that we get the publication out, and that way we can take a vote on that day.
No problem. I'll take care of it.
All right. Perfect. Good news. Anything else on this one, or can we move on?
Is this
No,
the same road that goes up to where the old, up to the jump?
No, it's not. It's right. It's next to it, but it's
Right.
not the same road.
Yeah, right after it. Going north.
Go back to it, St. Elizabeth's.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's not a road with a street sign or anything. It looks like a driveway.
Okay, so what's my landmark? What's the best landmark?
Oof.
I would.
There's a sign at the bottom that says Pleasant Street, indicating Pleasant Street's coming up. If you turn right there, a yellow sign, that's the road.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in between 702 and 690.
694.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if you miss it, you won't miss it by much, so you can turn around to the access road
Yeah.
and then
Just
just go
trying
back.
to envision it. I know I drive by it all the time and
Yeah.
okay. All right.
You miss it, you're going to end up going down Pleasant Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that the way to get into the old Golden Spur
Yes.
back in the
I
day?
remember because we've been there before, but I'm just having trouble visualizing it right now. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
find it.
All right, good. All right. Thanks all.
Thank
Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next on the agenda is number 1386 Canton Avenue. This is continued from February 10th, 2026. And I don't know, Natalie, are you addressing this one or Greg? I'm not sure who's.
I'm listening. I think the engineer will be addressing it.
Okay.
It was Driscoll, I think. Is he still on?
Yep, Greg's here.
Greg Driscoll from JD Civil here tonight representing Solomon Charity of Shanty Acquisition LLC for 1386 Canton Avenue. Shall I just go right into my presentation or?
Yes, sir. Welcome, first
All
of
right.
all, and second, go ahead.
All right, thanks. If I could share my screen, I'll put the plans up. All right, here we go. All right, so the project applicant, Solomon Chowdhury of Shanty Acquisition LLC, is looking to obtain the land permits to build a new home on their property at 1386 Canton Avenue. Just to start off real quick, I'll get us orientated here with the location. So here's Canton Avenue right here. This is that long right of way that comes down with several houses off of it to the property towards the back. I have another.
You come in right next to the Suffolk Resolve House?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Here's a quick
correct.
little
Yeah.
sketch I did.
It's the last property at the end, right? You kind of bump right into it.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's it. All right. So I'll get into this is the existing conditions plan right here showing the right of way coming out to the property. This is the existing house on the property. Currently, it's a two-story home. Not sure how many bedrooms it is off the top of my head, but that's I'll discuss that when we talk about the proposed. This existing garage is going to come off, and the house is going to become an ADU, the existing house. So this is shown to be demolished, a new house to be built in this location, and the existing house will be converted to an ADU. So the applicant would like to, and as we have a flagged wetland, Boarding Bridge State wetland on the edge of the property here to the west, we're within the buffer zones to the BBW. So we're before you tonight for a notice of intent application for the construction of this property, for this house. And this is going to be a proposed 4-bedroom single-family home. This existing dwelling will be converted to an ADU. We are proposing to reutilize the existing water well here. We're building a new septic system to accommodate both structures towards the back of the property. The septic leach field itself is outside the 100-foot buffer. The tanks, however, are within it. Just going through my notes, make sure I don't miss anything.
This is the one that it may be that when I first saw this, I thought I was having difficulty seeing on the plan. I'm looking at.
Yeah, we replotted it and darkened up the existing, especially on this one. So you should be able to see the existing
now, yeah.
contours and everything much better now.
So just trace for me with your cursor the existing and then where the new house is and where the ADU is.
Okay, so this is the existing right of way and driveway coming into the property.
Got it.
It's going to split off to the new home located right here.
Got it.
And then this garage comes down, and the remainder of the existing structure becomes the ADU, with the existing driveway kind of extended up to it a little bit.
All right, good.
And like I said, the septic system's towards the back. The tanks are within the 100-foot buffer, or the leach field is out of it. So the blue line is the BBW line. The red line is the 25-foot no disturbance line, which are respecting no grading or any kind of work is happening within that. We're showing a 50-foot buffer line for reference, and the yellow is the 100-foot buffer. This brown line right here is the sedimentation control at the limit of work along the low side of the property. And it extends all the way around to where we're working and up along the side of the septic system. We're showing dewatering basins if needed. These will be installed during the work. One there, one here, and this will be a concrete washout basin if needed for when they do the concrete work for the foundations. We're showing details of those sediment controls on the plan as well. The installation of the straw wattles, concrete washout, sediment dewatering basin, but pretty much the same thing. Stabilized construction entrance, pavements. They're going to do a propane tank, so we're showing that for the detail as well. And this hatched area right in here is the stabilized construction exit. We are putting a wall in along here to get the driveway up to the garage of the proposed house. We have the site slopes from east to west, so this is the high side of the property, and it slopes in this direction. So the front of the proposed home is going to be higher and walk-in level, and then as it drops down towards the back, there'll be walkout elevations in the backs of the property. So the basement will be walkout.
I don't remember this, but what you just said about the stabilized construction entrance, what is that? Just a 3-inch gravel or 2-inch gravel
Yeah.
or something? Right. The reason I bring it up, we just had a meeting last week on another. It's a large site project, and it actually the construction trucks will go in and out right onto a fairly heavily trafficked roadway. So it made a difference. But one of the issues that came up was, and I'm not suggesting that there's any knotweed in this area, but we do take a pretty good look to see if there's any invasive species around. And I'm talking about knotweed right now. We just wanted to make sure that construction entrance and the stabilized entrance for the trucks is sufficient that if there is mud in the trucks, whether they're concrete or road graders or whatever you're using, that they're cleaned, and that the importance of that goes up to us. If there's an invasive species, we don't want the trucks tracking that around. So I'm just asking you about what's the size and configuration of that stabilized truck entrance.
Okay, so this is the detail of it right here. It's a minimum of 50 feet long. We're showing 25 foot wide. Don't think that's a 10 detail, but I think we have it a little bit narrower to match the existing driveway. It's only 14 feet wide, but it is 50 feet long.
Got it. Okay. I mean, and that should be plenty, I think. But I'm just curious as to whether or not you've got, because on the other site they do have an invasive species, Japanese knotweed problem. And we just wanted to make sure the truck cleaning works.
Yeah, I did the test bits on the site with the Board of Health, and I didn't notice any knotweed when I was out there.
I think there was some. We were on what 1362 or 1365. I thought there was some Japanese knotweed right by the corner of the house. So we've been up in the area, not at 1386, but we were at, I forget whether it's 1362 or 1365, and there was some knotweed around there.
All right. And another thing I wanted to mention is the septic plans are at the Board of Health. They had comments. We just addressed those and submitted back to them. They're under review right now. And we have this same note on that plan to make sure that the septic contractor knows that the work is within jurisdiction of conservation and make sure that they have a copy of it and they know what to do of the order conditions once that's issued.
Yeah, that's pretty helpful to us because
Yeah.
depends on who the contractor is, but it does help us if they're informed and are
Yeah.
given notice that they have to
Absolutely.
be careful. And just so you know, and I think you do know, but we do have what I call standard conditions, special conditions, that there's no storage overnight within our jurisdiction of the heavy equipment, the hydraulic and you know uh, gas and diesel engines. No refueling and no storage overnight within our jurisdiction. But that shouldn't be a problem. You get plenty of space up there.
Okay. All right, that's good to know.
Questions from commissioners?
I just wanted to also mention quick that the DEP file number was issued. I looked it up. I had to look it up because I didn't get an email from them, and I did email that to Philip. And I also inquired with the DEP earlier today about the status of their review, and they replied as well, saying that there was no comments. And Philip was also copied on that. So
Good. All right. Questions from commissioners?
No, Steve, I think Tom's trying to get back in.
I did get back in.
Okay.
What is the square footage of the house?
let's see. So the proposed house is 5745 square feet. The existing house is 2765 for a total of 8,510 square feet.
I'm sorry, could you
Thank
repeat
you.
those numbers, please?
Sure, they're right here on the screen. Proposed house, 5,745 square feet. The existing house, 2,765 for a total of 8,510 square feet between the two.
Um,
And
can
then
you
there's a
explain to
building
me
coverage.
how the existing house square footage meets the standards for square footage of an ADU?
Yeah, that's more for the architect. He did send me the plans though. They have common areas within the existing house setting, the areas that we covered to common areas that won't be included as residential areas. So they're calling this main house space. So this is like common area for the main house. And then the gray shading is the ADU. So they're using portions of the house for a gym and an office as related to the main house, which is the new house.
What's the ADU limit, Wendy? Is it like 900 feet? It's pretty small.
Yeah, I believe it's under 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, I
So
think
I just don't see
900.
how this meets that criteria.
Yeah, it's 900 square feet. And frankly, I'm the engineer. That's for the architect and the building department to work out as well. But this is how they've approached it. And I believe
But these
there's
are
been
two separate
conversations.
houses, correct?
Yep. Two separate structures.
Two separate structures. But you're claiming that more than half of the existing structure is going to be considered common space?
Yeah, or main house space is what he's calling it on this plan.
Has this been before the planning board?
No.
Well, that's a big house. And I confess, I haven't looked at the runoff calcs. That's a lot of impervious space. Do you have calculations as to roof runoff and where it's going? It shouldn't be an issue, but all you have to do is add Peltec chambers if if you've got too much water. But
Yeah, I didn't see where this is a single family home, and even if they would still consider single family under for stormwater, I didn't see any. So for the state, we're exempt from stormwater, and that's where I would filled out the NOI form. And I didn't see anything in the local regulations requiring us to do anything for stormwater or roof drains.
Well, we're interested in the runoff. Where's the water go? Um, and it's usually not a big deal as long as you've got some mechanism to.
Okay, but is there a local regulation that requires that? Because I didn't see anything in my review of the bylaws.
Um, well, not specifically designated as a, stormwater reg, but
Okay.
just our overall review of where's the water go? I mean, we're
It just
still
it
using
flows
net increase.
across the property from
Into the wetland?
west to east, yes. I'm sorry, from
Well,
east to west.
that's certainly within the purview of our bylaw. I mean, if you're putting more water into the wetlands, we want to know how much and what's the flow rate, and I mean that doesn't have to be a specific component of the town bylaw, but rather the impact. What impact does the alteration have upon the resource area that we protect? So what we need to know is what's the runoff calculation and where does it go? If it's going into the wetlands, we want to know how much and how fast. And it's usually an easy fix. I mean, all you have to do is, put in some kind of a dry well or Caltech chamber if there's too much. But
Yeah, I
that's,
understand. Yep.
when you got up to 8,410 square feet, that's a lot of impervious space.
Yeah. Yep. And it's an additional 5745 for the roof for the new house. No, I understand all that, and yeah, we do that frequently for towns that have that spelled out in the regulations that roof runoff and everything is a requirement to be met. But
Well, we'd
I
like
didn't
you to
find
do
any
it
of that.
under the general purview that we're protecting the wetlands, and part of that is to figure
I
out.
understand. Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, good. All right, and maybe if you could have that by, what I'm suggesting is we do a site walk on the same day of the 28th, to, look at the lines, because we generally, well, not generally, we always want to approve the delineations. So for the last 3 decades or so, we've done that. So
Okay.
I'd suggest that we have a site visit on that same day, the 28th. And it's pretty close. Well, we're not far away at 8:30, so we could certainly be there by.
Okay.
What does everybody think in terms of timing of this to get to 1386 Canton Ave? Do you want a 9:15, 9:30?
9:15 sounds good.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we're going to
Okay.
spend too much time at Randolph Avenue.
I
Is
have a
everybody-
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I'm looking at the existing condition plan, and I notice it shows a tree line, and then it looks like a group of individual trees between that line and the existing house, maybe about a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I go to the other plan, seems like they're all still there, but some of them are covered by the house. And
Yeah, those are supposed to be kind of screened back so you see what's the existing condition and the proposed overlaid on top of it and the darker outlines.
yeah, well,
The
my
darker line
question
work.
is,
So yeah,
there's some trees that obviously will be lost to the house,
Yeah.
but there are others between the construction as you've drawn it and the wetland, and they're generally in the buffer. And I guess my question is, what are those trees, and are you keeping them or are you not keeping them?
That's a good question. Like this one right here, we could keep. That looks pretty wide open.
I don't know which one you
This
mean.
this one right here.
Right. Do you know what that is?
What it is? Oh, what kind of trees?
Yeah.
I don't. Not off the top
All
of my
right.
head, no.
But I assume they're sort of semi-big because they get their own little symbol.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we can ask you again at the site visit, but obviously, from our point of view, the more trees in the buffer zone is probably
the better. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a.
We tried to keep as much as we could for this area where we're kind of back a little bit to get this corner of the house in and the septic system. the upgraded septic system in. So
We do have a tree replacement policy. And so we'd need a tree survey as to what's coming down because it has to be replaced in kind. We used to have a 3-to-1 replacement, but the last 10 years we've had a matching either DBH or circumference at breast height, so that if you take out 100 circumference inches, you have to replace 100 inches. If you can do it on site, we encourage that. This is a large site, so you probably can. But if you can't, then we have an inventory where you can either put the trees in inventory or you can pay. We're now at $700 per tree, and that tree is measured at, I think we're at 3 inches caliper for $700. So we need a tree survey to know what's coming down and what the replacement plan would be.
But only within the 100-foot buffer, right, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Any other questions from commissioners?
Why is the propane tank being buried? Just for aesthetic reasons?
Yeah, it's going to be located right here between the two homes, two structures, and it's larger tanks because it's a pretty, like you said, a pretty large house. It's probably going to be required.
Okay.
Is that backup or is that a primary heat source?
I believe it's primary heat source. Yeah, that's where.
Okay.
That's a question I could ask for the architect if this is for cooking or heat, or if they're going to do oil for heat, and I'll ask that question.
All right, good. And if I saw it, I read right by it, but just, the size of the property and the size of the house.
Yep.
Is there a swimming pool here? I didn't see it, but is there any kind of
No swimming pool. We got the zoning table over here, so the size of the property is 73,707 square feet.
Yeah.
And the lot coverage, gross floor area. And
No, I just didn't want to miss it. I didn't see a pool because
Okay.
I didn't want to read right by it and have missed it because we do have concern. They're easy concerns, but we just want to make sure there's no discharge of chlorinated water into the wetlands. But it's an easy fix.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
a
no pool.
closed system. But that's just our regular and customary approach to those pool proposals. But I didn't see it. I didn't want to miss it.
Okay.
Thanks.
John,
Yes.
this is Steve here. I'd like to see 4 to 6 inch stone on the construction entrance. Seems to work very well.
Okay.
Greg, do you have a problem with that?
Nope.
Good. Good.
So would you say 4 to 6 inch stone?
Yes, please.
Anything else, commissioners? Abutters, members of the public, please speak. I don't see everybody on the screen, so if anybody else can see a hand up or I don't hear any voices. And if there's no other comment, question, with the assent of the applicant, we will continue this until March 28th at about 9:15 on site. Is everybody good with that?
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you very much, all. I appreciate it. Are we good? So we go on now to number 3, which alterations to wetlands at 45 Riverside Avenue. This is continued from February. Is there anybody here on that? I can't see. Steve, are you able to take that screen sharing down so we can see everybody in attendance?
Let's see. Let's find out.
Uh-oh, they left. Greg, help us.
It appears that I cannot take it down easily. Greg, are you still here?
It looks like it.
I am. I'll leave. I trying to find the controls here where I can shut it off, but I'll leave the meeting. That should do it.
Will it? I hope so. Hey,
There we
Yeah,
go.
all right,
Thank
all
you.
right, perfect.
that works.
All right, good. So we're on to the next one, and this is 45 Riverside Avenue. And this is one that was on a couple of times, actually, January, February. Mr. Nguyen, you're
Good
with us.
evening. How are you?
Well,
Yeah, how
welcome.
are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us. So we had invited you a couple of times in the past to attend because we had two concerns. One is that you did some house construction um, within our jurisdiction, and the second one is there seems to be some cutting of the brush in the resource area. Resource area is the marsh across the street. So we wanted to give you a chance to come in and explain. Um, and when we didn't hear from you, we did issue an enforcement order that's now been recorded with the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. And at the last meeting, we imposed a fine of $300 and asked you to come in again to show cause why that should not be an ongoing fine. Um, so can you tell us, what you did to the house and how you did it without our permit?
Actually, it's my cousin.
Good.
Yes, he doesn't speak. Yes, he doesn't speak English, and then he just came from the country, so he doesn't know the situation and then the law in here. And then the house will be been building it with the permit already, and then they move on very smoothly, except a couple issue from the front door. I mean the front house. He cutting the tree across street, which that he didn't know, and then that's what he told me, that the tree would dead, and then he doesn't want the tree falling down the street. That's what we cut it, and then he willing to pay the fee, to pay the fine, whatever is make that happen. And then, like I said, he doesn't understand. He just came from the country, so he didn't know that. So he said he would like to pay for the fee. I mean, for the fine.
Understood. We've had this happen before, and this may sound to you like it's bureaucracy, it's just form. But what we've asked for is a permit application after the fact. I know it's already done,
Yeah.
but he must have construction drawings, so we'd like him to file a request to do what he's already done. And I know that might
Yeah, he
sound
does.
foolish, but he's got the plans, and Philip Driscoll, who's here, can help you or help him to get the forms
Yes.
to file, supported by
Yep.
the construction plans, and then have him ask us to. It's retroactive. It's after the fact. I acknowledge that, but that has been our system in place for a number of decades. So we'd ask him to ask permission, even though it's already done. And then we can figure out, if there should be a fine and how much. That's on the building side of it. On the tree cutting side of it, we do have a policy, and if you were listening to our last discussion with the previous applicant, we do have a replacement. So you have to replace the trees either where they were or pay an equivalent sum. It's $700 per 3-inch caliper, and it's let's say I have no idea how big the tree was, but let's say the tree had like a 9-inch circumference, then you'd have to replace um, a similar number of trees. Now, if it was a big tree, it's very inefficient to replace a big tree because they don't survive and they're very costly. So what we do is we ask a number of trees to replace the same measure of circumference or diameter. mathematically, it comes out the same way. So let's say that you had to do 3 trees, that would be $700 per tree, which would be $2,100. Or you can replace the tree. If you can do it cheaper than that, fine. Um, but we need to know how big the trees were that were cut. And I
We
don't
can
know.
provide that.
What's that?
We we can provide that side of the tree because he just cut on the top of though, and then half of the tree is still there.
It's still there. Perfect. So
Half
that'll be
half of the bottom is still there, so we can figure out how big the tree is.
perfect. All right. And did you understand what I said? Because
And
I know it's a little confusing because I
yeah,
bounce back and forth between circumference, which is the distance around the tree, as opposed to the diameter, which is, cutting right through the middle of the tree for that measurement. But it doesn't matter which measure you use as long as we're consistent with the replacement
yep,
policy.
yep.
All right. All
And
right.
then
Is
in the
it,
meantime, he doesn't know what to do, and then that's why he would like to know what is the next step had to be done.
the next step is to uh, fill out a notice of intent, and Philip can help you get that form. It's available on the state website, the DEP website, and you fill it out. The filing fee is, I don't know what it is, $137 or something.
That's something you mail it to the house, or we have to find out on the website.
You can get it on the website. That's the easiest way to do it.
So
And
what is called again?
it's called a notice of intent. It's
Noted of
also
intent.
referred
Okay.
to WPA, just initials, but it stands for Wetlands Protection Act. But it's a WPA form. And Philip, do you know, or Steve, do you know what the form number is? Is it Form 1? I don't know. Do we have one here?
WPA Form 1, John.
It is Form 1. Okay. So it's on the
I'm sorry, W, right?
WPA,
W,
P as in Peter, A, just those initials. They stand for Wetlands Protection Act, but it's WPA Form 1.
Can we send him a link or send him a form as an attachment? Is that a possibility?
Sure, I can do that tomorrow.
All right. Do you have the right? Now I know you're the cousin, but are you also Mr. Nguyen? Nguyen? I don't know your name or
is
your.
my cousin. I'm sorry, my name Tim, last name VU is my cousin.
Okay,
You
Tim
had,
Vu. And
So,
can you give
W A
go ahead.
W A P, right?
WPA,
The
but
form of PA number 1.
yes, but if you give
I got it.
your email to Philip Driscoll, he can send you the form.
Yep. You have my email.
What
Do you
what
have the
is
email?
your email address?
Hold on 1 second.
Can you give us your email?
Yep, I'm working on that now. He write down, and I wanna.
Okay.
Okay, T like Tom, TRUONG, NQ dot PRO@gmail.com.
Philip, do you want to read that back?
sure. So T as in Tom, R as in Robert, U as in umbrella, O as in October, N as in Nancy, D as in good, N as in Nancy, Q as in Queen, dot, D as in dog, O as in
P
octopus.
dot P
Oh,
P like Peter.
P as in Peter, O as in October, R as in
No,
Robert.
P and RO.
Oh, pro. Okay. So
Yeah, pro at gmail.com.
got it.
All right. So he'll send that to you. So we need you or him to fill out the notice of intent form and support it with the
Yep,
construction plans that he used. And
yep.
then we'll put that on the agenda for our April meeting. What's the date for the April meeting? Philip, Steve?
Hold on.
I have it here. April
Yep.
14th.
Is it? That sounds
April 14th. Yep.
the second Tuesday? How could it be the 14th? Is it April 1st?
That's the second
Wednesday.
Tuesday, John.
Is
First
it
is a
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. Got it. All right.
John,
So
you've been saying notice of intent. Form 1 is actually a request for determination of applicability.
oh, okay. Well, it should be the notice of intent. I mean,
Yes,
it's pretty clear that
that's Form 3.
Form
Okay.
3. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
So, Philip, if you send the Form 3 to them,
Sure.
and then we'll put this on our agenda. The same thing. You can do it remotely with the Zoom link that will be on the town website. And then fill out the Form 3, which is a notice of intent, with the construction plans. And then give us the data on the tree cutting. That is, how big the trees were. And then we can resolve this. There will be a fine, but the determination will be based upon, whether or not there was any other violation. It looks like we would have allowed the tree, I mean not the tree cutting, but rather the house remodeling. But we can address that at a public meeting, and you can be heard with what your view is of whether or not there should be a fine or how much the fine should be. Okay.
I mean, he said no, it's dead anyway, so the tree is dead anyway.
He's what?
The tree is
He said the
dead.
tree is what
The tree
dead.
is dead. All right.
Does he have any pictures of the trees before they were cut?
I don't think he have, but I think the half of the tree from the bottom is he can provide that kind of picture.
All right, that would be helpful to us.
Yep.
All right. So just get that information back to Philip before the meeting.
Yep.
If you can do it a week before the meeting, that's what we require. And then we should be able to
Yes.
resolve at the April 14th meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments from
Yep.
commissioners or other members of the public that would like to be heard or ask a question? All right. I hear none. I see none. So we'll see you virtually on the 14th of April. All right.
Thanks a lot. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is number 4. This is a request for determination of applicability at 51 Riverside, a neighbor. Kyle, is that you?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, hello. My name is Kyle Martyr. I'm the representative for the applicant at 51 Riverside, Paul By, the homeowner. And yeah, we're proposing a garage addition, 2-story. I know that there was, I have the plot plan, I have a wetland delineation memo. I know that I believe Mr. Steve Ivis had previously suggested that he didn't think an order of conditions would be necessary due to the separation and the distance from the proposed work and the wetland resource. And
Well, if you're a neighbor, you just heard us discuss a notice of intent for 45. So I'm not sure
For the-
that that would be consistent with an
For the-
IPA. So
for the tree, right?
well, no, yes, part of that was the tree, but the notice of intent is for the work on the home.
Right. Okay.
That's not for the tree cutting. That's for the work on the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to be consistent. And it's just Form 1 to Form 3. I don't think it matters a whole lot. It might be another, I don't know, is there a different fee for a notice of intent? If it is, it's like, I don't know, $30 more or something. It's not a significant difference. And it's not going to slow you down. It's
Okay.
Don't we have a form for this? I have a
Yeah, a WPA 1 form was submitted. Yes.
I have a copy
Mhm.
Okay.
dated 12/30/25. And then the applicant signed it on 2/20/26.
All right. So we're yeah, and we know the area. So why don't you walk us through what, the changes in the footprint are, if it, wow, what
Yes.
the runoff is and things of that nature.
Yeah, so there's an existing detached garage. It's not really in use. And so we're going to be tearing that down and building an attached two-story addition. The first floor will have a garage, and the addition itself is about it's 52 by 17. So 52 feet long by 17 feet wide. So it's about 884 square feet. And this is going, within the existing space of the driveway. So there's currently a driveway there. And so basically, the addition is going to go right where the driveway sits. It is not going beyond that, existing driveway in any capacity.
So 800 square feet, and do you have calcs on the roof runoff and where it's going?
I'm not entirely sure if the architect has any runoff calculations. I mean, I can share my screen if I have the plans. I can go through it, but I'm not sure that that was done.
Okay. Well, this is an area of flooding. There's a great deal of concern being expressed by uh, NEPRA, which is the Neponset River Valley Watershed Association, by CZM, the Coastal Zone Management, by DEP, by all the organizations. Riverside Drive is a flood risk problem, and we've got stats and data from Cornell University that EPA is using, that DEP is using, and the rising tides. We've got projections for 2030, 2050, 2070, and it's coming. So this is an area where flood control is pretty important to us.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think that would be important to tell, for you to show us where that roof runoff is going to.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to go through the plans now. I'm not really sure if that was ever discussed. I know the owner hired his own architect. I'm just the builder, so I was not really involved in the building plans themselves. But there is a lot of detail in here, so it might be in here. I'm trying to see if I could do a quick scan to see if there's anything I catch with my eye on that. I mean, there's a roof section. I mean, it's really just showing how it's framed. But I don't know in terms again of any runoff calculations. I'll see if there's anything on.
Could you tell us whether there will be an increase in impervious surface?
Well, so the it is a bigger, the addition is significantly bigger than the existing garage. But again, we're within the existing footprint of the driveway, so I don't believe so.
Um, that's an important point, I think.
Yeah, important point, meaning we don't need the calcs or what?
Well, it does seem, just eyeballing it, there isn't going to be an increase, provided the addition will be confined to the driveway and the driveway is already paved. That was my conclusion.
Right,
Um,
that sounds about right.
Sounding about right is I need, well, I would like to have data as to whether or not there's an increase in impervious surface. This is a really sensitive area. And I think under a later agenda item, Arthur will make a presentation. We had just a meeting last week with the DEP folks, DCR, NEPRA, in terms of state grants to how do we control the flooding on Riverside Drive? That that's the grant we're looking for, and we've got a matching. Hopefully, we're getting a matching grant coming from the state, and I think we've got NEPRA to say that they'll do the match for the town. But the entire focus of the grant is to study flood conditions and how we can control it on Riverside Drive, or actually on the marshland abutting Riverside Drive. So this is a pretty it's not pretty anything. It's very sensitive to flood control. And I just want to make sure that we dot the i's and cross the t's on this. I'm not trying to make it difficult because I think there'll be an answer, and I just don't know if it requires any kind of a Caltech chamber. And I think Kyle knows that this is not a cost prohibitive response. It's pretty easy, pretty simple, and cost effective. But these houses are in trouble, folks, in terms of being in the way of rising tides. Arthur, you just sent something around today with some projections in terms of the rising tides coming in, and they're shocking. Am I
Yeah,
right?
indeed, and there's more information on the way. I spent today at the second annual Massachusetts Coastal Relocation Workshop at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And I'll do a summary of the notes from that day's worth of work.
We don't have to do it now. We don't have to do it now. We can do that on
No,
Vacation Tuesday.
I'll do it the notes in the next couple of days and get them around to everybody.
Oh, okay. But my only point is that this is an extremely sensitive area to flooding. So any kind of an increase in impervious surface is going to, I mean, do we have enough here that people are comfortable that there will be no increase in runoff?
It'd be great to have information one way or the other on the architect's plan. Is it Kyle, is there an architect for this project
Yeah, it's
or an engineer?
well, so there's an architect. Yeah, I believe they're registered engineers. They have registered engineers and architects. I believe they're under the same company. But these plans are stamped. Do you have a copy of the plans?
No.
I can share
I
my
have ones
screen.
that are labeled like
We have
S1
the
through
design
S.
plans,
Yeah.
but we don't have the plot plan of the entire. Well, I guess we do. That's what I had
Yes.
to read.
Yeah, so I mean, I think all we
JG
have
Land
is
Services.
yeah, JG Land Services. And then we have the a wetland delineation memo, which I guess kind of just gives a breakdown of the area, which you obviously all aware of.
I don't think
Kyle,
we got the
can
memo.
can you pull that drawing up on the screen, the JG Land Services, or do you not have?
Yeah, I
Because
can.
I'm working off an 8.5 by 11, and it's very difficult to see the existing conditions.
Yeah, let me see how I can
We
share.
really should be working off.
There we go.
So can you blow that up so we can see that where the proposed addition is going and hopefully
Yeah.
locate the existing, is the existing driveway shown on this plan?
This is the existing. I know it's kind of faint. I'm just trying to move this bar here with all the. Okay, there we go. So this is this faint gray line. That's the driveway. Oh, it says right here, yeah, pavement driveway. And it basically goes out here. And this is the existing garage that's being taken down. And then
All right,
this is
so is the addition is proposed for in that darker line, right?
yeah,
Within that footprint.
yeah, this dark bold line here.
So you're removing some impervious roof line where the one-story wood garage is being torn down.
Right, right.
So you're decreasing that footprint, but you're increasing the footprint as you're looking down the driveway on the right-hand side, it looks like there was some green area there.
Yeah, I know as of now, I mean, I know currently that's it's just wide open. There might be, yeah, some green on the side, but from my understanding, it's out of the way, or from my recollection.
I don't know what you mean by out of the way.
No, I thought you were just commenting about the green. I thought you were talking, so I was just, but yeah, so the addition itself is
Yeah.
this in bold there.
Now, what we're trying to determine, Kyle, is how much green area we're taking up with the new roof line. That's what we're trying to determine. And it appears that if you were pulling in the driveway on the left-hand side, it looks like there's a light gray line that's asphalt. And it looks like there must be some sort of grass strip on the left-hand side. And then you come in, your stairway's on the left, and then you come to the old garage. But you're removing a large portion of, or half the roof of the old garage and creating. So is behind the garage going to be created a pervious material where it actually says 1-story wood garage? Once that comes down, what is going to be the condition of that location? Is that going to be green area? Is it going to be gravel? What is it going to be?
I believe it's gonna be gravel. I don't think it's gonna be green area.
Well, either gravel or green area is going to be pervious. I would think that, John, we would want to know what that condition is going to be left in.
Right.
So
Is this staked at all right now, Kyle?
What
The proposed outline of the footprint?
No, it is not, no.
Well, again, Charlie, you correctly identified, the issue. There's a plus and a minus to this. I just don't know if that blue area that we're looking at, which will be the building, is bigger than the existing driveway. It appears to be, but I'm only basing that on the width of the existing garage and thinking that the driveway is the same width as the garage width.
Well, John, not to interrupt, but I do see a light gray line looking at the plan on the left-hand side that's actually outside the proposed building that appears to be the edge of the driveway. But I would agree with your earlier comment. This should probably be staked out in the field. And I think we should know what the completed design will be at the back of the building where it says 1-story wood. We want to make sure that that doesn't become impervious.
Okay.
And again, we're not trying to slow you down, or at least I'm not trying to slow you down, but I'd like to take a look at it, and we can do it on the 28th of this month, and just stop by there. It'd probably be at around 10:30, about 10:30.
Yeah, that's no problem with me.
Or 10:15 maybe. 10:30 to be safe. But if you could stake that out for us, it would certainly help me. And it's a public meeting, so we're not going to slow you. We can vote right there.
Okay. But I'm wondering if it would help out at all if I had a photo of the existing driveway. Well, I guess if you want to meet on the 28th, but maybe it would answer a question. Well, you all familiar with the area, right?
Yes, very much so.
Let's see if there's anything here.
I see you've added to the plan a line that says 100-year floodplain or zone AE. And it looks like part of the new construction will be in that floodplain, the front left corner. That's an issue too, I think, because if you are building in the floodplain, you are putting material in an area that, as it stands now, can hold water. And then when you fill that area. It doesn't hold that water anymore. That's something we regulate. I would be concerned about that.
Well, what if you can do this, get from your architect, the calculations are easy because there are computer programs that do it. But what the key to this is going to be, what's the increase in impervious surface, if any? And Charlie has correctly pointed out that you're going to get credit for, the back part of the garage that you're taking down. Or maybe, yes, but we need to know whether there are plans to, if that's a patio, then you got a problem. If it's gravel or grass, you don't. Then you get the credit for that against your net increase. Uh,
Are you talking about like what's beneath it currently? What once it's taken,
no, no, once it's taken down, what are you going to put there?
what we're gonna, I mean, it would just be clean fill, suitable, fill.
Is that the plan? See, that's why I said this would preferably have been a notice of intent, just like we asked Mr. Nguyen to do. As a RDA. RDA, it's a little bit more complicated, but yeah, we need to know that that's the plan to make it whatever it is, grass, if it's going to be a hot tub or a patio, and these are the things we see all the time. I'm not making
Well,
this up. We need to know that.
yeah, so there are zero plans for behind the addition. It's just to fill it. There's no, we're just building the addition, nothing beyond it and nothing behind it.
Then the plan should say that this is going to be a grassed area or a gravel area.
Okay.
These are not insurmountable problems. They're easy, and maybe it sounds like I'm dotting I's and crossing T's.
No, no, it's not. It just we had submitted this back in December, and I think we missed 3 months somehow, and so I just trying to see what we need to do. That's all.
That's fine. Maybe we're doing some eye dotting, but we're trying to move it quickly so you don't, because I know you've had a delay. So we're trying to fix
Mhm.
that, and it'll be a public meeting on the 28th. So we're not doing any of this to further delay you. We're trying to expedite it so you don't have to wait until the next meeting.
No, I understand.
But one of the things that Tom brings up is that you're really not supposed to build in the floodplain. Um, so that you're going to have to tell us how you're going to mitigate that or how you're going to address that regulatory issue. But the architect can do that.
Right, right. Okay. Okay. Just jotting some notes down.
Where were we? Oh, I know where. Myers, remember Myers Lane? We had somebody, building a part of their house that was in the floodplain. And the answer was they put it on stilts. That was it. The house was actually on Troutbrook Lane, but it backed up to Myers Lane. And it was an easy fix.
It may be, John,
Maybe, yeah.
because
I don't know. But what I'm saying is that we're not trying to make this difficult for the homeowner. We're trying to help them comply with the law.
for inland floodplains, if you fill in the floodplain, you generally have to dig out an equivalent volume. But on the coastal plain, it's different because the ocean is just one big body of water. And you're not really confining it by filling at the edge. So I don't think that compensatory storage is required in the coastal floodplain. Is that your understanding, Steve?
Steve's on mute.
Yes, for the moment, Tom, but the regs
Yeah.
will be changing, so we don't know what they're going to say afterwards after they change.
If this was my project and my house, I don't know. I would question whether I wanted to invest in a structure here unless I raised it somewhat. simply because we all know that this is very flood prone, and it's going to get more so, as Arthur said.
And the category is called land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Yes, with what
That's what it's
performance
called.
standards?
Right.
Mhm.
Not yet, anyway.
I'm not really aware of any.
100% sure we're in the
No.
flood zone? Yeah, part of it.
And that came up at our meeting this past week, Steve, with NEPRA and the whole. We're looking for a state grant to, work on those wetlands to prevent the flooding in this very area, Riverside.
Yes.
And we're doing whatever we can to help them. But as I said, there may be an easy fix to that. And as Tom just said, it might be that, you put it on stilts.
Yeah. Mr. Matthew, another thing to consider with your clients might be to move the addition back towards the rear of the lot, getting it out of the AE zone.
Mm-hmm.
That will, it doesn't look like they'd have to move it very far, but that will save them a tremendous amount in annual insurance premiums.
Wow,
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Thank you for the suggestion. I'll definitely pass it along to them.
Yeah, but a scary amount.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything I can find on the roof because I know there's a note here that we have roof pitch, refer to roof and ceiling framing plans for all roof pitch and ridge vent locations. So I'm just trying to find that really quick.
And Kyle, most of this is done by the computer program itself. So I don't think it's complicated for the architect to just add that data.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. If we're not in the flood zone, we move it back away from the flood zone.
Yeah, and actually, Mr. Matthew, if they are amenable to moving the structure back, I would recommend moving it further than where the existing line is, where the existing hazard line is, because that is going to be changing.
It's gonna be, yeah, even more. Okay. I guess I just don't know how far back he can go before hitting the setbacks or the minimum required.
Yeah.
Well, I'm presuming you could go back to the back of the existing structure.
Might be, unless it's, grandfathered.
You're correct, and I don't know what the setback is there, and I don't.
Yeah, you're what do you propose? You're 19 with the existing garage.
And what's the current planning board? 10 feet or 15 or?
It depends on the zoning down there, John, and I don't know exactly what the zoning is.
Yeah, but it looks like you could slide it somewhat. And I definitely don't know what the zoning is, but it appears to be a viable option for getting out of the floodplain or the coastal storm flowage area.
Mhm. Okay.
So do you have a list of questions, Kyle, that you can get to the architect and get back to us?
Yeah, so I basically have increase in impervious surface, and how is the floodplain going to be mitigated? Those are the two you're looking for, or are you looking for?
I'm not sure you can mitigate the coastal flooding. So I guess maybe you can, but I don't think you can. But the alternative question is, can you move it? Can you
Yeah.
just slide that?
Stay out of it.
Get it out.
Then you don't have to mitigate it.
Yeah.
Move the addition. Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue at all. So I guess it's a matter of how far back we can move it. We should.
Yeah, it sounds like an easy fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And a quick look at the planning board regs should give you the information you need.
No, when you move it back, Kyle, it's going to change the impervious data. So the architect's going to have to move the building first and then calculate the impervious data. The runoff on the roof, if it's increased with the proposed development versus the existing in situ condition.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, the roof runoff, that's a big one.
And the question to the architect is will it increase the impervious area from the in situ condition?
I'm sorry, from the what condition?
Existing.
Oh, okay. Existing. Yep.
And that would take into account sliding the proposed addition back, needing additional driveway.
Exactly. That's why they need to move the addition first, Arthur.
Agreed. And then they'll have an adequate calculation of stormwater runoff.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so you get your list of questions, and if you can address them, just get the data to us as soon as you can. But we can meet at a public meeting, and we'll be able to vote on the 28th.
Okay, and that will be at the property?
Yes,
Okay, 10:30.
ballpark. Yes,
All right, and so when I get this other information, I will forward it, I'll email it to the contacts I have and bring it with me to the meeting.
that's perfect. Yeah, yeah. If you get it to Philip, then he can make sure it gets distributed to us.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions from commission members?
No.
Good discussion.
What's that?
A good discussion.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I can't see other people. I don't know if there are members of the public or any abutters that would like to make a comment. I don't hear any, and I don't see any. All right, good. Thanks, Kyle. So we don't let this happen again. Can you take that screen sharing down so we can
Yes,
get
yeah.
from people?
Okay, I will. Thank you
All right,
all.
good.
Have
All
a
right,
good
thanks.
night.
We'll see you
Thank
on
you,
the
Mr.
28th.
Matthew.
Thank you. Take care. It's gone now, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's get to next on the agenda is reviving the Norfolk County Conservation District. This is informational, and when we got the notice, I'd asked Arthur to see if he could, jump on this and give us a presentation. Because it looks like the old conservation districts have kind of fallen into disfavor or, pulled a Rip Van Winkle on the state. And hopefully they're coming back. But Arthur, can you get us up to date on this?
About 5 of them have discontinued, and this effort is to take a look at whether or not they would be revived. One of those 5 is Norfolk County, and I sent around to everybody a link on the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Districts so that you could see what was behind the title of the screen in the effort. It seems that much of this is related to farmland and farmland related planning, restoration, or conversion. We'll learn more about that from additional information that will be forthcoming as I understand it. I did, John, ask MACC when they sent around their post-meeting request for suggestions for future sessions if they might include one on this particular topic so that the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Districts could come in and make a presentation and inform everybody as to what they do and what's going on. I suspect the counties west of Worcester and southeast down Bristol County are much more active and familiar with this process. The more easterly we go, the less likely. That's where the 5 districts are that are now dormant. That's about all I have on that. Again, just refer you to the link that I sent you so that you could take a look at what it is that they are up to. There are 13 of those districts, if I remember correctly, going from Cape Cod out to the Berkshires. I hadn't run into them in the past, and I didn't know whether Steve had any experience in working with them during his career.
Yes, Arthur. Have had quite a bit, starting when I was 14 and joined the 4-H clubs, and they used to hold agricultural fairs every year. I'm not sure if they still do or not. Haven't seen them recently at all.
You know what the number one crop in Norfolk County is?
No.
I know.
Cranberries.
What is it?
No,
I don't think
not
so.
even close.
Cranberries.
What are the guesses? Cranberries? Anything else?
No.
It's grass.
I was going to say
Grass.
lawns. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if a conservation agent is there to assist farmers, he should really be a turf meister, because that's what the most investment is in, growing grass.
Sure.
And who eats the grass? The Canada geese. I guess, I don't know, it probably isn't a cash crop in the conventional sense, but certainly as far as investment and materials go, that's what people spend money on.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of money.
As far as whether the district needs to be revived, I really have no idea. I just don't.
Tom, I'm familiar with sod farms in New Jersey from when I lived there, and they're massive enterprises. They are in New Jersey like cranberry bogs are in Massachusetts. Are there many sod farms in Norfolk County, do you think? Or are you just
I don't
talking
think there
about
are any.
all of us who try and grow grass on whatever it is that we have as topsoil?
They're really big in eastern Long Island too, for some reason.
Also Rhode Island down near Newport.
Yes, that's right.
There's a ton down there.
That's right. We see those trucks coming up into Massachusetts, starting in the spring, going through the summer. But they are into soil control, mitigating erosion, stormwater impact, many of the things that we're concerned with as conservation commissioners. And when I went through the materials that I sent you, I thought that might be a good topic for MACC to put up to educate members of the conservation commissions who are interested in learning more about it.
Good, thanks.
Suffolk has less agriculture than we do, than Norfolk. Which makes you ask, if you're trying to distribute these services to farmers, is the county maps really that helpful? The county boundaries, the ancient county designations? I don't really know. I would say, can't we just divide this work up among the people who need it without worrying about what county it's in? But I'm just spitballing.
That's a political question, right, Tom? You'd probably add that to the county sheriff's issue that's been.
I guess, yeah. I'm sentimental about Norfolk County, I guess, but I just don't have any opinion about this.
All
John,
right.
anything else you want explored on this topic?
Nope. I think we're good.
Okay.
But just keep us up to date, and if there's somebody that represents the group that can come to us and explain further about how we can help. Um, my view is that I understood entirely what you said. They're designed to help the farmers, but we had a meeting recently, well, just what, Thursday, um, about the memory care center getting off the ground. So I'm in new business now, so I can kind of segue into that. So we had a meeting on the construction project and what needs to be done and all the multiple permits for the memory care and what needs to be done there. And at the end of it, I mean, the engineering department was there, DPW was there, the planning department was there, the fire department was there. Uh, Philip and I were present. And at the end of it, we talked about sort of a rejuvenation of the Open Space Committee. And we're once again looking at where's our inventory anyway? There have been so many attempts to come up with an updated inventory of open space, including conservation restrictions. So we had a conversation. Philip, I'm trying to remember who was involved. I know Liz Manning was there. Um, but there is an effort on the town's part to kind of rejuvenate this open space committee.
I think
So
her assistant was there as well, and I can't think of his name.
I can't either. Nice fellow. He seemed to be enthusiastic. And so I said, listen, the one place you can look at is in the 2014 Master Plan Committee, because there was a whole section of that that was devoted to an inventory. It's out of date now. It was probably out of date then too, because it did not have a lot of the conservation restrictions. And we actually don't have a good inventory of that. And Arthur, you and I had talked about getting Kathleen O'Donnell involved in that because she has an expertise. And I actually talked to Nick about hiring her to uh, to do that. She's now on the planning committee, so I'm not sure you can.
She's chair of the ZBA now, Zoning Board of
ZBA,
Appeals.
right. So, but
Oh,
outside of that, she'd be somebody with the expertise to go through the registry of deeds and see if there's a way to find the conservation restrictions. I mean, some of them we know because they came to us. Some of them came to us as a result of our own um, actions, orders of conditions and whatnot, like Scott Woods Trust at 153 Hillside. There's a conservation restriction there that was deeded to us. We've got other land deeded to us up on Highland Street. Dennis Burks gave space to us to oversee the conservation restrictions. Where we've got a bunch of other ones. The land surrounding the Wentworth Farm Road gave some land to us because that was part of the cluster zoning development. So some of them are obvious.
Webster Collins restriction, Mike Salamando's restrictions.
Webster Collins is 153. That's known as
That's it.
Scott Woods. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
one. Yeah, so a lot of this is kind of done by memory as to how we accumulate this, but there is going to be a new push from the Open Space Committee to kind of, get that done so we know what it is. And so open space is going to be an area that we're all going to be looking at for the next year. That's one of our, I guess, chartered objectives.
I don't know if they have a budget, but if they do, they could engage a consultant.
oh,
And the other possibility that some communities have used is expertise from AmeriCorps,
Right.
inventorying their open space lands and conservation restrictions. That's been done on Cape Cod, I know.
yeah.
I
So,
think every town needs to do it if they want certain funds.
That's right.
So,
yeah,
yeah, it's been done hundreds of times.
And one of the other issues, Tom, that and Wendy, we've had this discussion with Wendy, is that we don't have enough money, and they don't have enough money to buy land, but we may be able to bond it or set aside, a small eligibility request. When I say small, I'm talking about like 50,000, not 500,000 to buy a piece of land, but 50,000 because they could afford, they meaning the Community Preservation Act Committee. Um, and maybe we could approach it that way to sort of build a nest egg to either buy land or to more likely to buy a conservation restriction from a landowner to see if we can preserve land that way. So there are different approaches. Um, and so I think we ought to, think about how can we get the funding or come up with a mechanism to preserve land, open space. And it's going to dovetail with a climate action committee. They're trying to find places to plant trees because that helps in, the gas emissions to absorb the carbon. And so a lot of these different committees are approaching the same goal. So we just need to coordinate through Open Space Committee, through the CP committee.
Bless you.
Thanks.
So I don't know if you guys recall, about 5 years ago, y'all appointed me to be the Conservation Commission's appointee for the Open Space and Recreation Planning Committee.
We do.
Yeah, and so I've not heard a peep in about a year, maybe a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Nick brought it up and said it's been a year and a half since they've done anything.
Yeah. So my understanding is that it was a casualty with the change in the town planner. We did have a consultant on board, a planner from Horsley and Witten Group down in Sandwich, who was working closely with the committee for several years. I mean, it was one of these things that just kept getting picked up and put down and picked up and put down, and then people in the committee would come and go, and leadership would come and go, and so honestly, I haven't heard. This is the first update I've heard in over a year, John. So I'm excited to hear that there's new energy behind this. Because 5 years ago when we started, we knew we were 10 years late in doing that initiative. So now we're even further behind the eight ball.
True, but I think we've got some energy here with Liz Manning.
Yes.
She was there, and the gentleman who was the assistant.
John, his name is Avanti Grady.
Yes, Avanti Grady. He seemed to have a bit of energy, which is what it needs.
That's wonderful. And I know that a few years ago, when we did have some energy and initiative going, I had expressed my concern to this committee that I wasn't able to put in the time and energy on behalf of the commission that we really need. So I would, assuming that there's going to be someone reaching out to us officially asking for us to have an appointee, I would love to have a conversation for someone to replace me on that committee.
And any volunteers? It's going to require energy.
Yes.
But it's energy with the backing. Nick Milano was concerned that that 18-month gap and no activity. So he's behind it, and Liz Manning, town planner, seem to be on board and ready, willing, and able to lend her oar to it. Any
John, might
volunteers?
it not be a member of the Conservation Commission or a representative for the Conservation Commission so that we could?
Sure, we've absolutely gone outside before, but
Good.
when I don't know if you know this, but I offered that suggestion to Georgia Lee and she declined. So yeah, we have been thinking, as Arthur said, outside of the committee, because we can have a designee.
I believe Georgia declined not because she wasn't supportive of the open space planning initiative, but because her interest is primarily to serve on this commission.
That's true, but the fact is she declined because she would be somebody that I would think that could carry the message for the Conservation Commission, and she seemed to have the energy. So I'm just saying she said no.
I think
Her reasoning
in
is
my
correct.
experience in serving on that committee, what is needed as a representative from the Concom is not so much energy, but it's historical knowledge. I have energy. I don't have the historical knowledge.
Well, let's put our thinking hats on. If nobody's willing to step up to represent us on the committee, then let's think about people that might. I know there are a lot of people that are interested in, climate action, open space, recreation. So let's think, you don't have to answer now, but think about somebody that could appropriately represent our interest.
I love the idea of asking Kathleen O'Donnell if she would be interested. I hear what you're saying about her being um, the the chair of the
ZBA chair,
planning of the ZBA, but is there is there any conflict that would prevent her from also being our appointed liaison if she was so willing?
I don't think so, but the conflict might be the 24-hour clock. I know she's pretty busy. Arthur, I know you're close to her. Um, I, I I think she's pretty busy.
Last time we asked, she was still working full time.
She is still working. I don't know if it's full time, but she is still working. Do you want me to make an ask of her, an inquiry, John?
I thought she was officially retired.
Mm. That comes and goes with a lot of people.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, Arthur, why don't you just, sign her up?
Happy.
Yeah, she'd love that.
All right. And just, open it up. And if you can think of anybody else, let's stay together on this.
And going to Wendy's point about the 5 year mark, 5 years ago, two predecessors back from Avante as associate director of planning did a total inventory of open space in the town. I may have that electronically. It does not have conservation restrictions in it or easements, John.
It does
But
not.
if I can't find it, I will circulate it to everybody.
Okay. Yeah, there have been a lot of efforts going back to the Bill Clark days and Tim Zerinsky, and we've made
Mhm.
repeated efforts to do it, but it never seems to get to completion.
Right. It never gets finalized.
Right. But you're right. There are a lot of attempts and starts at it, and that's what I said to Avante, that there's a lot of stuff out there. You just got to find it. Because he said I didn't know anything about. He's brand new, but he said I didn't know anything about the master plan committee. But that was an inventory that a lot of it came from John Cronin's memory, as opposed to documented like what we were asking Kathleen O'Donnell to look for. Documents from the registry, um, to formalize it. But anyway, let's keep thinking, and Arthur, check with Kathleen and see what she thinks.
Is that a task that we might be able to use some of our conservation funds to help pay for that kind of time and expertise?
Sure. Our revolving fund is restricted to environmental purposes. So the answer is yes.
I
But
mean,
remember, that's the same fund that's giving the trees.
right.
Now the trees, and so that one of the points that came up at our meeting last Thursday with the memory care is that we are expecting about $300,000 contribution to the town. And so I talked to Nick. I said, can we figure out a way not to put that in our revolving fund? Because, it'd be nice to have it, but if we're restricted to $15,000 a year, that might be counterproductive. We might want to put it into a different account. So that's now, I'm sure Nick's going to go to town council and say, how do we do that? But so a lot of this is sort of on the accounting side as to where we can find the funding, but that's
Right.
something we can look forward to. However, as came up at the meeting, and I was asked specifically, does the memorandum of understanding signed in February of 2025, does it say when it has to be paid? And it doesn't, but it appears to be at the sort of the end of the process. So certainly by the time of substantial completion, which is a term of art, it would be due then. But
Mhm.
there's a long time. They're still in the permitting stage right now before they break ground. But they're looking to break ground, pretty soon. They're hoping to get started, I think, this summer. And I know we're going to get pushback from the public when they start cutting the trees. And we talked about that and the need to get the neighborhood involved so they know it's coming and there are no surprises because it's going to, it's going to be shocking the number of trees that come down. Um, so there's the planning department is trying to figure out how do we get the neighborhood there. And there are trucks coming in, so they're acutely aware of that. Police details. We went through a lot of detail on the truck cleaning provision as to how do we get the mud off the trucks because they've got at some point when they do the excavation and the foundation, they're going to be looking at like seven cement trucks per day. And prior to that, plus you've got, construction vehicles for the workers. When I say construction vehicles, I mean personal vehicles. And then you've got a lot of, fill trucks coming in and going out. Um, so we're trying to be very, very sensitive to the knotweed because the neighbors and we are concerned with, we don't want to spread that seed when it's coming out. And that was one of the specific requirements under our memorandum of understanding that they transfer what they originally agreed to in terms of the tree replacement funding. That got dropped when DEP issued its superseding order. They affirmed basically what we said, but they dropped it because it's not a state, and they said, well, that's not under our state purview. That's the town purview. So we went back to the applicant. I went back and talked to Ned Corcoran and said, listen, you agreed to it with us and you were okay with it. So you got to come back and agree to it again because it's not in the superseding order. And he said, fine. And we did it. And you'll recall that in February, a year ago, February, we issued and executed and voted for that memorandum of understanding. So that was all reinstituted um, in
Thank you,
addition to the
Tim.
superseding order. And then in addition to that, we've got the knotweed, you know, the program to get rid of it. Part of that is how they clean their trucks.
Hmm.
So it's still it's center it's on the radar screen and the developer and the contractor were there and they said, "You're right, we'll do it." And Marino Fernandez was there, and so all these permits they're all being lined up at this point, but I think they're gonna start probably June or July, somewhere around there.
It would
Um,
be wonderful if we had some sort of a public program to not only educate people, residents about knotweed and other invasives, but also provided some sort of technical assistance and maybe even funding to help with remediation. It's such a horrible, horrible issue. And you're right. I mean, with every development, I mean, it's really a public issue that can be made so much worse from improper development.
you are correct. And again, I'll take your comment about public education because the next topic that I've got for additional business is that we've had some issues lately with the building department. And I say issues, it's the whole thing's a communication issue. But sometimes people go for a building permit and get it, and sometimes it's issued without consideration or without communication with conservation, because some of the permits actually do implicate the Wetlands Protection Act or the bylaw. And what we're doing to I guess, bridge that gap that's come up a couple of times lately, is to request, and I think we've got support from Nick Milano for this. It is an expensive component, but there's an environmental module for the app that's called Permit Eyes. And Permit Eyes is just an app for engineers and architects and building commissioners to get all their data into a central repository, manage the data, and then coordinate and monitor the permits. And there is a Board of Health module, which I think has been approved, so that the Board of Health will be part of the same computer program, so that if somebody goes in for a new home that requires a septic system, they're going to be on the same program, so that the Board of Health will be involved right there. And, the leaching field is going to be whatever, 100 feet from the back door. All of that's going to be coordinated. The It's a lot. I think it's expensive. It's like $8,500 a year to put on an environmental module. But Steve supports it. I support it. Philip's been involved. We're talking to Nick. We're trying to get him. And he said, I want to hear what Michael White says. And Michael White is the new building commissioner. And I believe he supports the expenditure. So I think we're headed in that direction. That will help us a lot because just in the last 3 months, we've had two or three complaints about us, not, and I'm going to use a term of art, signing off on a permit. And my position has been, well, sign off is not within our nomenclature. We respond to requests for determinations of applicability. We requested notices of intent. We respond to ORADs. The delineation requests that we get that come to us pursuant to the DEP regulations. But we're dealing in kind of the informal area here, where somebody comes in with a building permit and one quarter of the property has a 100-foot line through it from somebody else's designation. But the new home is going up, 200 feet away from it. So the building commission is now saying, well, you guys don't have any problem, right? Because we've got like the very corner of the property might be within 100 feet. And so they're looking for an informal agreement. Well, this is not a new problem, and we've always kind of eyeballed it. And if it's clearly upland and clearly away from our jurisdiction, then we can say, yeah, it looks okay to me. Well, that it looks okay to me is going to come from Steve or Philip or me because they do call me. And if it's obvious, fine, it's fine. We can say, yeah, it's not within our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But we're getting plans that come in and say we just got one. We're 105 feet away from the wetlands. And I said, what wetlands? What plan are you using? So they're giving us plans from, 8 or 10 years ago on somebody else's property that show, a 100-foot line on the new project site. And I said, well, wait a minute, we need to have a wetland scientist go in and delineate the boundaries so we know. I mean, y'all looking at somebody else's old plan and saying, yeah, it looks like and the latest one we had was 105 feet. That's actually a new line drawn. I don't want to mix stories here, but we're getting things that are very close. And as you know, when we go out and we inspect lines, it's not uncommon, I won't say frequently, but it's not uncommon for us to move a wetland flag 10 or 15 feet. And the classic example of that is at 711 Randolph Avenue, when we went out and Judith was there. Ingrid, you were there.
Yeah.
This is when you guys get stung by the bees.
We'll never forget it.
Right. So we actually we didn't know the significance of what we were doing, but we moved the flags. We actually had a wetland scientist with us, and he agreed with us. It happened to be the applicant's, it's like a substitute expert, but it was the applicant's company. So we moved the lines. And then they came back, the applicant came back later on and said, oh, no, 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 you can't move those. We're going to move them back. And so we said, no, you're not going to move them back. And we didn't know this at the time, but the reason the movement was so significant was because it went from 5,200 square feet of resource area to 4,700. And the MEPA threshold is 5,000 feet. So lo and behold, when we moved, we didn't know any of this. We just moved the flags. And then, they replotted it. Well, lo and behold, it went from, 5,200 feet, they wanted it 4,700 feet. So it had significance. So that's why it's so important for us to go out and look at the lines and cast our eyes on it and have Tom there with an auger or somebody else and say, well, let's take a look at the soil. And sometimes we move that. So the difficulty comes in this gray area that we're trying to address right now is if there's an area within which we should say an RDA is required, even if your wetland scientist said it's 105 feet away, then we need to go out and look at it. So is there some area of discretion where we say we need to take a look at it or you need to file an RDA? So Nick said, you got to do something, so that the public knows. And he's asked us to add something to the website so the public knows when they need to file an RDA. So what I did is I called Alicia Geelan, who's a circuit rider from DEP, and I think she's wonderful. I think she's done a good job in public outreach. She's very much vested in public education. And she said, oh, yeah, that's a good question. And I know exactly what you're saying. There's that gray area where you don't know whether or not your jurisdiction is triggered or not. So just today, she sent me, I think, four different town websites. She calls them, what are they, tri-corners of, they're those folded up brochures. And she said she was a conservation agent in Ipswich. And she said, my office happened to be right next to the town tax collector. So I put up a rack and I had all of these little brochures. These, they're just folded up. They're not big fancy brochures. You
Trifolds,
can,
yeah, they're called
what I
trifolds.
trifolds, yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I'll send you some. So I just today I got one from Ipswich, one from Weston, one from Lexington, and they're just educational things. So I said, this is great because we can use this to put onto our website so that people know when they have to come. And it's funny because I was talking to Alicia and I told her a story and I said about 7 years ago, we tried to get the real estate agents in the town to hand out, copies of, here's the Wetlands Protection Act and this is what the Milton Conservation Commission does. And they refused. And at first I was surprised. Then I was, no, I guess I'm not surprised because they don't want to scare away
Yeah.
a prospective buyer. They flat out refuse to do it. Um, but now we can kind of bypass that and put it on now. And we should have done it 7 years ago, but put it on our website to just educate, you know, town residents, prospective buyers, put it on the website and say, if you're close to the wetlands jurisdiction, you got to file an RDA. So that is in process right now, and um, I'll send those other towns' website tri-corners around and just let's take a look at it. Or I'll draft something up and just say, try this. It's real simple, not complicated, but just here's where we are. And if you're even close to the jurisdiction, err on the side of filing an RDA or a notice of intent. And again, that's another gray area. What's the difference between the two? So I'll send around what she sent to me, but other towns are confronting the very same issue that we are. People don't know. And so our job, I think, is to help them comply with the law. Not throw up obstacles, just help them comply. All right, so I'll get that stuff out to you. That's one other thing, just so you know what's going on the litigation side, we've got two cases that are pending. One is 648, 652 Canton Avenue. DEP, it was appealed, it went to the DEP administrative person, and they recommended that it issue. We've taken an appeal to the Division of Administrative Law Appeals. Well, we've made a decision to do that, and the select board has approved it. But we can't because the commissioner has not yet entered the order. So DEP issued the superseding order. We appealed that. The administrative person ruled against us and said, no, we're going to support that. We've agreed to appeal it, but we can't do that until the commissioner adopts the recommendation from the administrative officer. So I know I just repeated myself. I said it twice. So we're waiting right now. The curveball is that the land court came down and issued an order that the applicant, cannot use Mergewood Drive as a means of access because it's called overburdening an easement. And they made a land court ruling that to use Mergewood Drive, you're overburdening the easement that is owned by 652. So 652 could use it, but the project is a combination of 648 and 652. And therefore, to allow 648 to use Mergewood Drive, most of the buildings are on 648. So to allow them to use the 652 easement would overburden it, and they're not allowed. So the applicant is now back to reconfiguring their Canton Avenue access. So I believe that's the holdup. But that has been held up. The other holdup is Lower Guile Road, the artificial turf field. That was, we issued the permit, 4-3 vote. That was appealed by the neighbors to DEP. DEP issued a superseding order confirming our issuance of the permit. So the neighbors appealed that, and that's been argued and briefed and whatnot. And Nick Milano just asked Kate Conley, who represents us, what's the holdup? She said, I don't know. I don't know, but it's held up. It's just pending the decision from the Division of Administrative Law Appeals. So it's just both appeals are stuck. That's my update. Okay. Any other additional business?
I have a point of information. You may know that Quarry Hills has asked DEP for permission to install two 200 kilowatt turbines to burn methane and generate power to replace an engine that formerly was working in the cage. You could see if you went up the driveway to Granite Links around the bend to the left, you could see a chain link fence and a methane flare. Well, I noticed back in 2023 that somebody had gone in there and removed all that equipment, and the gate was open, everything was broken up. And that sort of issue has matured in Quincy to the point that DEP must have said to Quarry Hills, you need to start taking care of these landfill gases because you just abandoned your flare. And I think this application reflects that. Quarry Hills will have to pay over $2 million for the two machines. And the second one is simply there to take over if the first one fails. But something that was discussed in terms of the methane collection is that Brian Donahoe, the engineer for Quarry Hills, at some point said, well, when the Quincy flare was decommissioned or disassembled or taken apart, then the gas that was generated in Quincy went over to the Milton flare. And that surprised me because I didn't think the gas collection systems were joined.
Yeah.
As you may know,
I didn't either, Tom. I didn't either.
Yeah.
How could that? How does that even work?
Well, there would have to be a new pipe, another pipe that was placed across the separation,
Right.
which is about 50 acres of oak woods that used to separate the landfills. So it just seemed odd to me that they would even have put that in as part of the overall construction, because why would you try to connect them at all? I thought there was a flare at Milton that I'm familiar with. You
And
have
why
probably seen that.
why should Milton agree to that?
Well, if it's all one system, it probably is not that significant that they're shuttling the gas from one side to the other. But I was just skeptical myself that they could do that at all. And will we get a site visit or a public meeting where the engineer can point to the plan and say, well, here's the pipe that carries it over? I don't know if we will or not. But I did join this Quincy group of advocates in commenting on the permit application and saying, yes, we're pleased that they're starting to treat the landfill gas again, rather than just let it leak out and maybe accumulate in buildings and blow them up.
Yeah.
It really does seem that it was a bad move by Quarry Hills to take the old engine out and not replace it, not have a flare working anywhere. Methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas.
That's for sure.
And yeah, if you do not burn it or use it to make power, you are polluting. And I think what this episode demonstrated was that when the equipment stopped working for the old turbine project, the contractor just grabbed it and took it away. And now the collection system was no longer connected to a working flare. And that's been the condition, as I understand it, for 3 years. And the thing that DEP is trying to address. Now, why are they addressing it now? Because a new city councilor from Ward 6, Debbie Riley, brought it up at a public meeting that the old flare had fallen to pieces and asked what was being done to collect and dispose of methane. So that generated the process that ends at this permit application. And I guess what I'm hearing from you is no one is aware that the gas collection systems are joined across the 50 acres that separate them. And I'm still waiting for somebody who knows the answer to this to tell me that it is all one system.
Well, Tom, do you remember that about at least 10 years ago, the town was supporting an application for a power generation system on the Milton side where the Milton flare is. And it
Yes.
was designed to create enough electricity to run all town facilities, including schools, police, fire, library. It was going to create that amount of electricity. That was the plan. And there was a study group behind it, and they did a good job. They came in, they filed with us for a permit, and then they pulled it. And I thought they pulled it. They were a little bit vague on why they pulled it, but it seemed like there was not enough methane, being collected over the period of time to justify the return on investment. That is, that they were going to run out of methane. So the fact that we could have, they could have used the Quincy or Quincy could have used ours, this is startling to me.
That never came up, I guess, and that makes sense. And I would say that if you're doing two applications, you probably have two systems. That's kind of what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I am familiar with the Milton flare, and I would say that it makes sense to me that Milton didn't pile up enough organic matter in the town dump to make enough methane to make it very worthwhile to do this project. You need a lot of methane to make a lot of power, and this was one town's dump. And as it happens, as time goes on and the organic matter slowly cooks and produces methane, the methane production falls off, and there is less to burn and less power to make. In my observation of the methane flare, I never saw a turbine in there. I saw instead the typical installation where you have a fan and a little chimney with a little roofed flare on the top of it. And the way it works is when the pressure of the gas reaches a certain level, the fan turns on and the flare sparks and it burns the methane. You don't get any power, but you turn the methane into water and CO2, which is a lot less harmful. So that's the way a flare is supposed to work. And I really don't know how much methane is left in Milton. And I haven't been to see the flare lately to see if it's still running. But at least on the Milton side, nobody took apart all the equipment and scattered around, as happened in Quincy.
Quincy. All right. Well, boy, keep us informed about that because that's a big issue. I mean, if they connected their methane to our methane system of piping,
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
The sources of the methane are the two original landfills,
Yeah.
and there was a real gap between them way back when. You know, it put a lot of big dig dirt in that gap, but the two piles of garbage were not close to each other, really.
Can you run that to ground, to see?
All right, I'll
and then report
keep
back to
trying
us?
to find out. You know, the one you can hear different things from Corey Hills from different people, and I still don't know the answer to this particular question.
All right, that could be important. There was one other thing that I failed to mention, apropos of our, communication and people not knowing whether to file an RDA or a notice of intent or not. We've got a case on 40 Ridgewood Road, which is right near the flare. And I've been talking to a fellow by the name of Ike Nan, and he is asked to expedite. He's a little frustrated because he said, I could have filed this a long time ago if I knew to do so. And I said, well, I'm asking you to do it now. Will you do it? And he said, yes, I will. And so I asked him, get it filed to us, and we will put you on the agenda for the next site visit. And I said, I think we're going to have a site visit at the end of this meeting. He couldn't get it to us in time to get on the agenda for tonight. So I asked him to just get ready, get it done. Did you receive it, Philip? Did he?
I did. I have it in my desk.
All right. So we can put that on the agenda. And it's actually, Ridgewood is right near 728 or 710 Randolph Avenue. So we could go there next. I don't think it'll be a long visit. But I did agree that I put him on whatever date we came up with. So if you could reach out to him tomorrow, Philip, and just say, we'll entertain his item on the 28th.
Perfect.
Then it's probably going to be about 9 o'clock or so, 9:15.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be lengthy. So I think we can get him in there before we go to the next. So see if you can arrange these site visits so they make geographic sense.
Okay.
That's pretty close to the dump.
All right. Perfect.
Landfill. All right. Anything else? New business? Yeah, Wendy.
Yes, I saw that Philip had forwarded us an email late this afternoon from Cassandra Calabro, the town's environmental coordinator, about a CZM grant, Coastal Zone Management grant that the town is applying for in conjunction with the Neponset River Watershed Association, and they're looking for us to sign a letter of support for that grant proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Arthur's. We've been meeting, or he's been organizing that a lot.
Yay, Arthur.
I'll send a strand. This is actually an overture from the Neponset River Watershed Association asking if we would partner with them on a Massachusetts vulnerability grant program opportunity. And they cannot be the agent or the fiscal agent. So they're asking the town of Milton to work in that role. And this is for estuary and marsh restoration purposes, which would address roughly the 30 plus acres down behind Riverside Avenue and Cortlandt Circle. So that's in progress, and it looks like, John, things are moving along pretty smoothly with the relationships between the town and NEPRA.
Absolutely. And Wendy, you should know that this is a matching grant. And so NEPRA, got us all together, and we had a meeting, what, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, Arthur. And
Yes.
Cassandra Calabro was there, and Liz Manning was there. And when we met, Ian was right up front. He said, "Listen, we don't qualify because we're not a municipality, but we have the money. So here's what I propose: is that if you, Milton, become the grant applicant, and the state gives you a matching grant, we'll match it. So it doesn't cost the town anything. The state gives us half, NEPR gives us the other half, and we're just the pretty face that we're the applicant. But the funding is coming from the state and NEPRA. So it makes perfect sense. And it actually dovetails with the whole CPC marsh estuary rehabilitation program that's going on that you're funding. So we get into all of that. It's an overlay. So they're going to be creating runnels, and I know those are controversial whether they work or they don't work, but they're at the cutting edge of the new science. So NEPRA's pushing it, and we're glad to be pushed. I mean, everything just kind of came together. It was whatever the converse of a perfect storm is. It just everything worked. So we got money and a good goal. So thank you, Arthur, for
It's a
keeping.
very vulnerable area, and it tied into the workshop at UMass today with migrating wetlands and salt marshes and what communities are going to have to do with adjacent properties. They had an excellent presentation on work being done in a marshland cove up in Revere, and Woods Hole group from Falmouth area had done a lot of consulting with them, and they actually pinpointed specific houses and their degree of vulnerability and why they were vulnerable by the way in which the water and the wind come into those properties from different directions. One of the things that was interesting is they were actually talking about the need for communities to be looking at resiliency bylaws. And this would tie into what was being discussed earlier with respect to 54, I guess it was, 51 Riverside Avenue, whether or not it should be elevated. And there are some communities where that is a requirement already. And then they were talking about the possibility of communities investigating, and some law firms are studying this already. They named one of them. John, I have a reference for you on that. Relocation bylaws. So what do you do when somebody's property has to be ultimately relocated? And then big portion of the session was on how you communicate with the community. We have, for example, one pocket of the community, that area we discussed earlier. 90% of the communities not adjacent to it are necessarily concerned. How do you get the community as a whole to work at helping the people that are in that area? And John, you saw from the pumping station that with the FEMA maps, that flood water is going to be up, what, by 2070, all the way to Hope Avenue and Granite Ave, which is a pretty high point right now.
Hope Avenue. I'm astounded because it's got to be at least 35 feet above. Hope Avenue's got to be at least 35 feet above where that pumping station is. And the flood maps that they showed from Cornell University, they had 2030, 2050, 2070. Hope Avenue is going to be flooded. I've got the maps. It's shocking. Now, it's not going to go up that 35 feet, back up Granite Avenue. It's not going to be that deep. It's coming in from the other side. So that if you look where the pump station is and you're looking at the golf course, it's off to the right because the water kind of winds around so that it gets on the other side of Hope Avenue. But that's a lot of water. And 2070 is going to be here. That's why this, Riverside area is so sensitive. That's what all of this concern is about. All these grants are coming in, and it's all being driven by the concerns with, increased in precipitation, and the frequency of, the high volume storms and the rising sea level. It's coming.
Right. And they were essentially saying, put on your hip boots for 2030.
Yeah. Right.
That's at least what, a couple of years away.
It is indeed.
So this is all fantastic, and I'm so excited to hear about the great work that you're doing with NEPRA, Arthur. But I think that that's different. That's a different grant than what I was referring to, the email that Philip sent around this afternoon
That came from Cassie.
from Cassandra. Yeah.
Yes, Cassandra.
She sent it to Philip, and then Philip sent it to all of us. And
Yes.
it's a proposal that the town is submitting on Monday. And so they're asking us
That's
for a letter of support for that. But it's for the proposal that they're submitting is for some bioretention um, systems, about half a dozen of them or so, in 4 different hot spots, sort of in the Unquity Brook watershed.
yeah.
I haven't read
I
that
think
yet. I was at the meeting.
yeah. I think we're talking about the same thing. We were talking about the number of grants that we were eligible for, and during the discussion with Liz Manning and um, in fact, I think we were talking about it the other day, Philip, when we met with Liz and Avanti. We're limited in the number of grants, and we get into the Algerine corner. Um, and that, so yes, that's another component. Maybe that's a different grant because we were
Yeah,
talking about
it's a different grant. So this is a building upon the 2017 proposal, grant project that they did about 10 years ago. They highlighted these hotspots, and they had an engineering firm do 25% engineering. So now they're looking at the next step, which is to have a firm do 100% engineering on these proposed bioretention cells. So they're just asking us to sign a draft letter of support that she sent us this afternoon. They need to have it by Monday.
right. Well, it's not on the
I'd like to
agenda.
propose that we sign this draft letter of support.
Yeah, no, I agree. If we need a vote, we can do it retroactively at our 28th meeting. But I agree with you. Um, and you're right. It is a separate grant. And the Algerine corner came up because you'll remember that hotspot, grant-wise, was moved to behind Cunningham Park and not Cunningham Park, Cunningham School and Collycott School on Pleasant Street, where Pleasant Street kind of curves around. The grant for Algerine Corner that money was moved there. That was another hotspot. So in talking to Liz, they're talking about multiple other Unquity Brook hotspots, and she was going to put Algerine Corner back on the hotspot because there are alternative means. You remember there was a political discussion, and the town decided to move that grant funding to a different hotspot. So one of those hotspots, I believe, is going to go back to Algerine Corner because I said, listen, I know that people didn't want the E. coli coming off of Adam Street, in a rain garden. And this may be near and dear to your heart, but there are alternatives to a rain garden. You can clean that water before it's going into Unquity Brook anyway. So one way or the other, it's getting there. So if we could put it underground under that Algerine Corner field and have it discharged through the soil, it'll clean it before it hits Unquity Brook. The political problem before was that the neighbors didn't want the water sitting on the surface where people could be walking around. And the rain garden. Remember, this is the Jerry Burke discussion. They
Oh, I remember.
went on for a while. There are alternative means. So you are correct. This is not the same as the NEPRA one. But I agree wholeheartedly. We need to get behind it and support it. So I'll second your motion. And if we need to for the open meeting law, we can have another vote on the 28th. So actually, Philip, why don't you put it on there,
Okay.
the letter of support, so we can do it retroactively. But I agree that I like your proposal and I support your motion. I second it. Anybody uncomfortable with that? It's not on the agenda, but I think we got to move because we've got a Monday deadline. So everybody good with that?
Absolutely.
All right, so Wendy's motion to issue a resolution of support, I second it. Any discussion? Hearing none. Wendy, how do you vote?
I vote yes, please.
Yes, me too. I vote yes, please too. Arthur?
Yes.
Your vote? Tom?
Yes.
Ingrid?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Perfect, done. All right, so can you type that up tomorrow and get that to Cassie, Philip?
Sure. Who do you?
We voted a resolution to support the town's application
Yeah.
for a bio something or other. What's it called? Bio? I've got it here. I've got
For
it.
it's a bioretention study, but the Cassandra sent us a draft template. All we need to do is just sign and date it and put it on Concom letterhead.
Perfect, done.
Who's going to sign it?
You can sign it. Yeah, you can sign it. Just attest to the fact that we took a vote and the Conservation Commission supports it.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks. That it for additional business?
One more question I had. On the first warm day before yesterday, I guess, did anybody notice that there was a big portable pump sitting beside Pine Tree Brook, just upstream of Thatcher? A big red wheeled pump. It had two corrugated pipes associated with it. One was drawn out of a big manhole that had no label on it, and that was going in through the machine to another big covered pipe that said MWRA. Plus, there was a lot of water in the street. You know, there's a street that goes back there along the brook. And some of that water looked like maybe it was sewage. Does anybody, my guess of what was happening was somebody was worried that the town sewers were surcharging onto that road. So the DPW came with a pump and started pumping out of the Milton pipe into the MWRA pipe. Is that what was happening? Does anybody know anything about it?
I know nothing about it. Philip, you could probably find out pretty quickly.
Sure. And what was this now? Where was this located, Tom? Sorry.
On Pine Tree Brook, just upstream of Thatcher Street Bridge.
That's Manning Lane.
Oh,
yeah,
Manning
the
Lane.
south side of the brook. And that's where this big portable pump was, with the pipe going in and the pipe going out, and the two manholes open. And while I was there, it was running. It's pretty loud. And there was a lot of water around underneath, including water that looked like gray water. So, yeah, I'm just curious, what was that problem that was addressing?
I'll ask the water department tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Thanks,
No problem.
All right, I think that's it for tonight, right?
Whew.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're done. Thanks all. Good night.
Take
Good night.
care.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.